This is Teachable Moments with April podcast, and you guessed it, I'm your host, April. If you're a returning listener and a part of the Teachable Moments with April podcast family, welcome back. For those who are checking me out for the first time, well, hello and welcome. To everyone listening, look for the teachable moments that are all around us. Enjoy and be encouraged. Alright, this is your host April. So this is part 2 of Sticking Out Your Tongue. What does the Bible say about it? And what does pop culture say? So I had to break it into 2 parts because the first one was longer than I had anticipated or intended it to be. But I'm so anxious to share what I found. For some people, they may have already known this. I didn't. I'm going to tell you what I mean. So I mentioned it in part 1. So when I became curious about this in particular, the sticking out of your tongue, especially now it seems like it's more prevalent. Like I talked about, you had the Rolling Stones, you had other people doing it, previously back in the day, here and there, and now it's more so everywhere, just like the articles and the blog said. But when I looked up Kali, the goddess of death, destruction, and other things in chaos, in regards to this, what they call phenomena, something else popped up. And the thing is this: like with most things that are religious or mythology or folklore, you're going to automatically get people who are devout followers, okay, aka cults. So this is what popped up, the cult of Kali. And when I saw it right away, it kind of like, it was like what they say, an aha moment. I'm going to tell you what it means. So let me go straight to what I'm talking about. So on Wikipedia, when you put the cult of Kali, or you put Kali in, the goddess, it'll say a word, Thuggee, Thuggee. Okay, I believe that's how you pronounce it. I even looked it up and listened to them pronounce it, Thuggee. And it says Thuggee was historical organized gangs of professional robbers, okay, and murderers in India. Then this was the word that got me, thugs, Thugs, were said to have traveled in groups across the Indian subcontinent. Okay, they usually murdered their victims with strangling using a handkerchief as a tool. The Thuggee, okay, was believed to practice their killings as a form of worships. They put worships instead of worship. Worships toward the goddess Kali. Okay, let me stand back for a second. Let me say it one more again. They usually murdered their victims with strangling using handkerchief as tools. Okay, as a tool. The Thuggee, okay, was believed to practice their killings as a form of the worship. That word, worship, toward the goddess Kali. And so I'm sitting there like, as soon as I saw the word thug or thugs, I identified it with pop culture, primarily rap culture, okay? The black culture. That's the word, thugs. What are the odds? See, this is what I'm talking about. What are the odds that things that were back, and I don't know what year, what timeline, so far in the past, that these things, like I said, are being rebranded? Is this where the word thugs, how did this get into our culture, the black culture? Okay, hold that thought. So now I'm going to go to, let's go. BBC News. Okay. Let's see. It was published August 30th, 2015. Okay. The unlikely origins of the word thug. All right, let's see what it is. It shows a picture just like on Wikipedia. It shows these Indian guys, Hindu guys. They are literally on top of this guy, other guy. He looks like he's unconscious. It's three of them. And it says underneath the caption, a 19th century watercolor by an unknown Indian artist depicts three thugs strangling a traveler. And it's from the British Library. Now, this particular article was written by Bradley Campbell. Okay. It says, in the wake of violence and unrest in Baltimore, media commentaries as well as politicians, including President Barack Obama, called rioters thugs and were criticized for it. But the term has such a much older history. In the U.S., the word thug, okay, is a loaded term. Do you know how many songs, how many people are still using the word thug? Okay. It surfaced a lot in recent months, usually surrounding protests against the deaths of young black men in various American cities. Activists and cultural critics have pointed out the term is often used to refer to black Americans, yes, and white Americans doing similar things. I guess so. Would not be labeled the same. Oh, they said, and white Americans doing similar things would not be labeled the same way. Oh, okay. All right. And it's back in the news this week as rioters in Baltimore were tagged as thugs. Even the city's African American mayor, Stephanie Rawlins Blake, used the term, though she softened her comments on Wednesday. So it may be a surprise, or it may not be, that the word originates far away in India. I never knew where it came from. But what are the odds? What are the odds? So before I proceed further, I have to say it. So we have this Indian Hindu goddess, Kali, that epitomizes all these things, okay? She is referred to as the Dark One, the Dark Goddess, among many references. She has many arms. She has the tongue sticking out. And she is the epitome to some. She symbolizes and represents certain things, including female empowerment. What are the odds when we think about the black community that some goddess, as Wikipedia refers to her as Kali, a mythical entity, a mythical, fictional entity, an entity has infiltrated our community, the black community. And then we look at the word thug, which its origins are also from India. I'm going to let that marinate. Okay, so it says, and it's back in the news this week as rioters in Baltimore were tagged as thugs. Even the cities, okay. So it may be a surprise that the word originates far away in India. As far as I can tell, this is a quote, thug goes back to the 14th century. And these thugs are actually practitioners of worship. When they kill people, it is a form of worship to this goddess, Kali. Is this a coincidence? Do you believe in coincidences? It says Megan didn't say that. Megan Garber, who traced the word's origin for a story in the Atlantic. There was a gang of criminals known as the Thuggee. Okay, the Thuggee. 2 G's and 2 E's. Garber says the thugs were a huge criminal network that operated all around India's main roads. They would basically befriend travelers along the roads, gain the travelers' trust, she says, and then they would murder them, usually by strangulation. Yeah, they're pretty clear on that, and steal their valuables. It was all very violent. Mark Twain was one of the first Americans, okay, can't get any more American than Mark Twain, was one of the first Americans to report on the group. Imagine that, Mark Twain. Observations about the thugs appeared in his book, Following the Equator, A Journey Around the World, published in 1897. Y'all got that? The book started the steady rise of, in exclamation points, quotations, thug in popularity in 1897, and usage in American English. In the UK, the thugs were much better known. Oh, they were. Thanks to British colonial rule. Oh, yeah, in India. Okay, yeah. For you guys who are really good at history. So it says Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, remember her, used the word decades ago with relative frequency. Oh, look at you, Margaret Thatcher. She gone, right? Thugs were everyone from unruly soccer fans to people involved in race riots. Garber says the word thug actually rebounded in American popular culture, thanks in regard to Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Look at that, the Temple of Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford. There was a plot line that involved kidnapping by the way of thugs, she says. A lot of Indian Americans actually protested the portrayal of the thugs in that movie. I didn't know that. But that sort of brought it back into the cultural presence. Again, you see how they cultural presence. Yeah, you got that? Then hip hop, hello, took the word. Tupac Shakur had it tattooed, okay, onto his body. All right. And Cleveland's, that's what I think, the Bone Thugs and Harmony. Okay, Bone Thugs and Harmony, exactly. Sent the word into cars, okay, and living rooms across the country. In this conception of the word, Garber writes thugs are both victims and agents of injustice. Oh, wow. And they are both the products and producers of violence and mayhem and outrage. She's also been listening to how people have been using the word in the Baltimore riots. It says, it's this very effective way of suggesting that the people who are doing the rioting and who are being called thugs don't actually have a right to their outrage, she says. This partly why there's widespread disgust in African American community over its use. Just take the response Baltimore Councilman Carl Stokes, gave to CNN's Aaron Burnett over the word. It says, it's not the right word to call our children thugs, Mr. Stokes said. These are children who have been set aside, marginalized, who have not been engaged by us. Oh, okay. But how does that justify what they did? Miss Barnett said. That's a sense of right and wrong. They know it's wrong to steal and burn down a CVS, an old person's home. I mean, come on. Just call them the N-word ninjas. Just call them ninjas, Mr. Stokes said. No, we don't have to call them by names such as that. Oh, okay. You wouldn't call your child a thug if they should do something that would not be what you expect them to do. Garber, okay, isn't surprised the word has become so loaded. In some sense, the history of language is about people trying to wield power over other people, she says. And so this is just one more example of that strife and effort. All right, so welcome back. So the last thing that we're going to look at in this particular episode is something that I actually, when I looked up the cult of Kali, something from Time magazine, time.com, and it was published in 2002. It looks like July, to be exact. It says, Killing for Mother Kali. Now, this doesn't seem like something from back in the day. But as we already know, or we should already know, is that even though we think that certain things, like we talked about this, were antiquated, fictional, you know, there's still people that engage in these things, these cults, whether we see it, whether we're aware of it or not, even if we think it was back in the day. Okay, so it says here, this is the impression that I get. So it says, for the magic to work, the killing had to be done just right. If the goddess were to grant this particular individual, Kandu, okay, Kamar, the awesome powers he expected from a virgin's death, guess we're still killing virgins. Can find them. The victim had to be willing, had to know what was happening, watch the knife, and not stop it. But even tranquilizers couldn't lull 15. It's a 15-year-old. Oh my God, 15-year-old girl to her fate. In his polite confession, oh my God, Kamar says his wife. Okay, his wife. Oh my God, Manju. What? Oh my God, hold on, let me get this right. In his police confession, Kamar says his wife, daughter, and 3 accomplices had to gag this young lady, the 15-year-old, and pin her down. Doesn't sound like it was willing. On the earthen floor. I'm not a genius, but it doesn't seem like she was willing. Floor before the shrine. Okay, the shrine. It's 2002 now when this was published. Okay, I know we're in 2024, but just, Okay, in a ritual order, Kamar wafted incense over her. Then he tore her clothes. Okay, I'm not going to read the other stuff. He sprinkled her with holy water, imagine that, from the Ganges, and rubbed her with cooking fat. This is really depraved. Then he started to chant mantras to the mother goddess Kali. Oh, and then he started to dismember her. Oh my God. Oh, this is horrible. And he put it in front of the shrine, and he had an idol there and a photograph of this goddess Kali. Police say that there was so much blood on the walls, and she died in minutes. That is so horrible. It says human sacrifice has always been an anomaly in India. It says even 200 years ago, when a boy was killed every day, a boy was killed every day at a Kali temple in Calcutta. Okay, blood cults were at odds with the benign Hindu spiritualism that celebrates abstinence and vegetarianism. Okay, but Kali is different, a very ferocious slayer of evil. In Hindu mythology, the goddess is said to have an insatiable appetite for blood. So that's what we learned in the other mythology vault. The images, the different depictions of her being covered in blood and having skulls and all this other stuff. It's death. With the law on killing people more strictly enforced today, okay, it says ersatz substitutes now stand in for humans when sacrifice is required. Most Kali temples have settled on large pumpkins. So let's just think about this. These temples are still active, even though they're saying what they're saying here, okay? Substitutions are being put in for humans, but yet we just read an actual crime, okay? That was in fact a symbol of worship to this particular individual, who was sacrificing on an altar, okay, that he erected, I'm thinking, in his home, a photograph and an actual idol of Kali, okay. It says they settled on large pumpkins to represent a human body. Other followers, slit the throats of 2-meter tall human effigies made of flour or of animals such as goats. So you see the significance of the goat. Okay, we've only touched on the whole thing with the goat thing. So it's a very short piece, and that's pretty much it. But then let's look at this. Let's see what this is. Something else. Oh, they said this page can't be reached. Okay, so these particular things, I just keep reiterating this. There are people that are still practitioners of these things even today, even though that's 2002. Still, there are people still in the name of these particular what they would like you to believe, fictional or mythological entities. Okay, so I found another article. It's from dgrnewsservice.org, and it was posted in 2021. It says the cult of goddess Kali, and then it looks like in parentheses, actually it was done in February 27th, if I didn't already say it. It says alienation and mental health, gender, male supremacy, women, and radical feminism. Now remember what we talked about when mythology Volt, they talked about is female empowerment that Kali embodies. It says in this excerpt from her book, Matriarchal Societies, Heidi, Abendroth describes her journey to the shrine of Kali, which is the meeting place of two streams. Heidi's writing brings to life the sacredness of both nature and women. We also know that in what we looked at in regard to New Age spirituality, a lot of times they will keep pushing feminism, empowerment of women, feminine energy, and that kind of terminology to fit in with certain themes, okay? Like what we were talking about in the Kundalini yoga and other types of yoga and practices such as that, or Eastern, will be considered Eastern meditation. This is when they talk about her at all. Europeans describe the cult of Kali, India's ancient great goddess, as being extremely bloody. It was apparent to me at the sanctuary, this particular sanctuary, Dashkin Kali, how many misinterpretations and Western prejudice were tied up in this opinion. The narrow mountain road took me up to the hill. Below me, the Kathmandu Valley opened up in all its exotic beauty. So I can tell right away from the tone of this that she is in awe and reverence of this particular goddess, and that she sees her more in the positive versus the not so positive or negative. She doesn't see her as the dark goddess of, death, destruction, and chaos. In the gray dawn, unimaginably high, blindingly white peaks of the Himalayas rose up behind the circle of mountains. Gradually became apparent that the valley is shaped like a scallop shell, the symbol of the fertile, creative goddess. And right there, set into the hills, was the Bagmati River, breaks through the southern narrow mountains and leaves the Kathmandu Valley behind. It's a sacred place of this particular shrine of what they have for Dashkin Kali, It lies hidden only at the end of the road, rounded, inwardly folded mountain, overgrown with the most luxurious green, and was visible as a bright contrast against the dry yellow-brown of the surrounding landscape. Even though it was dry season, two overflowing streams rushed down over this concave mountain, flowing together, V-shaped, imagine that, into a small ravine. Can't get any more feminine than V-shaped, right? Not only in the nature religion of the Kashi, but all over India, the junction of two rivers is considered a sacred place, embodying the lap of Mother Earth, from whom flow the endless waters of life. Which, when people make reference to goddesses and they talk about the womb, they talk about the waters. Keep that in mind. The shrine of Dashkin Kali is remarkably different from the Hindu temples and Buddhist stupas in that it has kept, even today, the form of an old natural sanctuary, a small open place in the triangle Where the two streams meet, shady, cool, and full of secrets in the dark green twilight of the gorge. I had to climb down to the goddess instead of climb up to an imposing structure. I guess that's supposed to mean it's humility, humbling, that you're not climbing up, you're climbing down. The site is marked by a low wall, and decorated with an arch over which a gilded yoni symbol hangs like a large drop of water. Symbol of the uterus, and female power. See, this is right, that she is this earth mother, she's this goddess, life-giving. Covering the ground are clean, black and white. They say clean and white. That gotta be a typo. I would think it would say lines, but it says times. Okay, I don't know. Inset with a large 6-pointed star. 6-pointed star, you say? Okay, this star, I guess you're going to tell us. Two conjoined triangles stands for the polarities whose power create the cosmos. Wow. A golden canopy held up by 4 upwardly slanting golden, can you guess? Golden what? Snakes. Them snakes. You keep coming back, people. A golden canopy held up by 4 upwardly slanting made them golden. Golden snakes. Benevolent snakes, because they're golden. No harm here. Placed precisely in the 4 compass directions. The directions, that's another new agey thing. Okay, stretches over the open air temple. Here again, the snakes, and they call them, I've actually heard the sacred nagas. I've seen that word before, okay, and probably seen it in movies or read it somewhere as well. Symbolize water, seen as the pure blood of the earth. The pure blood of the earth. Speaking of the blood of the earth, I was watching on Netflix, I think it was the show Sweet Tooth, and they were saying something at the end. It's season 3 is the new one. Well, new to me at least. And they kept talking about blood of the earth, blood of the earth, blood of the earth. And they symbolize the fertility that comes from the water, as well as divine female energies. The power of the depth, the transformation of life into death and death into life is understood as Sakti, or Shakti, or energy of the goddess Kali, whose small sculpture is at the knee-high back wall. A priest sat before her bowed in deep prayer. You were just listening to Teachable Moments with April podcast. I truly hope you enjoyed this episode.